In 1922, two men run from something in an unknown jungle, and no one knows where it is. One of them carries a staff, and he pulls his friend to hide and catch their breath. The first man says they won't outrun this monster, and his friend says they can use the box, but the first man says they can't do it anymore. Their conversation gets cut short when they hear a roar, so they start to run again, but the monster eventually gets to them. The staff then falls to the floor, just as an ugly hand reaches out to take it. In the present day in Australia, a girl named Zoe busies herself with dinner when she receives a call. It's from one of her friends, Amber, who is at a party. Amber asks where she is, and Zoe reminds her that she already moved back to Australia. Their call ends when Zoe cuts it off, since Amber got too busy with a boy, and her father walks in. He asks about the dinner and apologizes for not helping her because he's tired. Before he goes to sleep, he says he loves her. When he's gone, she touches her dead mother's bracelet, saying she loves her as well. The next day, Zoe boards the bus and makes eye contact with one of her classmates, Javier. They smile at each other until one of her classmates, Caitlin, bumps Zoe's shoulder and sits at Javier's side. Soon, the teacher boards the bus and tells Zoe to sit, which she does right next to the nerdy Owen. As soon as Zoe sits, their teacher, Mrs. Benjamin, tells them that the exhibition they'll visit was made by elementalists. She explains how they got their power from a magic tree and got attacked by a magic sorcerer, but Javier decides to cut in, saying he already read the story in a comic. Mrs. Benjamin just realizes the bus hasn't moved yet, and that's when she sees another student named Kaylee, who still hasn't come inside yet. Mrs. Benjamin tells her to get in, but not before Kaylee shows a caricature of Mrs. Benjamin, then gets on the bus. Kaylee sits in front of Zoe and Owen, just when Owen starts babbling about how they were classmates in two subjects and his advanced research about the exhibition. Kaylee gets annoyed and tells him to shut up, which Owen does, but shortly after, he starts talking again. Soon, they reach the exhibition, which was led by Dr. Rawson. She tells the class about how they tracked artifacts about people who protected the Tree of Knowledge, but Mrs. Benjamin cuts her off to reprimand Javier. After that, she punishes Javier by making him stick with her throughout the day. Dr. Rawson resumes the talk and directs them to another room, but Zoe and Kaylee stray from the group. They enter a room where the staff from before is displayed. Owen joins them, but not before surprising them, and talks about the markings on the staff that represent the elements. Soon, Javier joins their group and tells them to be quiet. When Caitlin comes running loudly after him, their group suddenly starts fighting when the staff rolls over to Zoe's feet. As she picks it up, the markings glow and sees how they are also glowing on her friend's cheeks. Just then, Dr. Rawson walks in and sees Zoe holding the staff. The kids start pointing fingers at each other, but Dr. Rawson just tells them to come with her. The group goes to her room full of strange things, where Zoe asks what's happening. However, Dr. Rawson doesn't answer and wonders how they got the staff out of the case. Zoe tells her what happened, and Dr. Rawson says that the staff is made from the Tree of Knowledge used by the elementalists. Owen asks more about the staff, and Dr. Rawson says it was found in an architectural dig back in the 1920s. But the scientists who discovered it were never found. Her answer doesn't make sense to Zoe, but Dr. Rawson tells them the staff never lit up like that even when they've had it for 100 years. Hearing what she said, Caitlin asks Dr. Rawson what will happen to them, because the same light and markings were also etched in their faces when Zoe touched the staff. Instead of answering her directly, Dr. Rawson shows them an obsidian cube that was discovered in another expedition. Dr. Rawson thinks that if they touch the cube, maybe they could decipher it, seeing how the staff responded to Zoe's touch before. The kids do what she tells them and touch the cube one by one. They enter a trance once they do so, but Zoe refuses to do it because it doesn't feel right. When she hears her mother singing, Zoe finally touches the cube as well, and they get teleported to a desert. When the group regains their consciousness and sees where they are, Kaylee and Caitlin freak out. Caitlin blames Dr. Rawson for what happened, and Zoe tries to calm the group. Their fight stops when Owen tells them that he hears music in the forest. Dr. Rawson suggests they go there since they can't survive in the desert, and the group starts walking over. They walk wordlessly with Dr. Rawson at the tail when the kids see an old man covered in moss called Marduk sitting under a tree. They wonder if he is dead, but suddenly he opens his eyes and asks them if it's finally time. The kids ask what he means, and he replies that the sorcerer has come. Marduk then turns to Zoe and fondly calls her Earth Child before he tells them that they stink. Because of that, Marduk says the beast doesn't treat kindly those he can't recognize. At the mention of the beast, a roar from the Guardian sounds from the distance. They panic since they can hear the beast get closer, and Marduk advises them that they should just let him see who they really are. Dr. Rawson tells them they need to move, and as they run, Marduk tells them again just to show the beast who they really are. As the kids run deep into the forest, Dr. Rawson strays to a different path, and the beast runs after her. It catches up to her and knocks her unconscious before running after the kids. As they try to escape it, Caitlin runs straight to a tree, so Zoe moves her out of the way, just in time for the beast to attack her. But before it can reach her, Zoe gets absorbed by the tree, while the other kids continue to run. Much later, Dr. Rawson regains consciousness and becomes alert to her surroundings. She hears laughter and gets startled when she feels a finger pokes the inside of her ear. The noises actually come from the goblins, and it is revealed that Dr. Rawson is the sorcerer Marduk was talking about. She angrily orders the goblins to push the kids into the forest to find the other half of the staff. Meanwhile, Zoe wakes up and finds Marduk, asking him how he was able to do that. Marduk simply answers that one tree is all trees. Meanwhile, the other kids manage to outrun the beast and rest for a bit to think of a plan. Owen says they need to find water, food, and shelter, just as Javier asks Kaylee if she has any food in her bag. That's when they realize that Kaylee is nowhere to be seen. But when she suddenly appears, she tells them she finds a hiding spot. She leads them farther down the forest. Owen then notices inscriptions written on a stone wall. Because Owen noticed it, Kaylee outstretches her hand to expose more of the writing, but wonders if she's doing the right thing. Back to Zoe, Marduk tells her that she's in the Grove of the Earth, and that she's an Earth elementalist like him. They are in tune with creation, can manipulate nature, and heal others. Then he tells her how he has always lived here until the sorcerer arrives. According to Marduk, the sorcerer is the original guardian of the Tree of Knowledge, whose job is to protect the tree. At a later time, Marduk left and met 4 others who found a way to harness the element's power, which they craved more of. When they came home, the guardian refused to let them in until a plague fell upon the tribe. He continued that the guardian approached them for help, and they convinced the guardian that the tree could save the people. It went well until the guardian tasted the power, turning the guardian for the worse. Realizing what they did, Marduk and the rest cast the guardian out of the sacred grove for all time, while the guardian has been trying to come back ever since. Back to Zoe, Marduk instructs her to find the rest of the staff and return it so they can block the guardian, who is now the sorcerer. He tells her to find the tree that's located beyond the obsidian mirror. When Zoe asks where that is, Marduk says that it's where things are darkest. Zoe still doesn't understand, and she tells him that she needs to find her friends. He tells her he hopes she finds what she's looking for, and that she has no choice. Before she walks away, Marduk advises her to wash off the sorcerers to throw off the beast from attacking her. She heeds his advice and splatters mud all over her before searching for her friends. Back to the rest of the group, they wonder what the inscriptions mean, and Kaylee agrees, saying she doesn't understand poetry. Owen gets confused, so Kaylee says she can see it and read aloud its content. The inscription talks about a righteous one as well as the earth and tree. From this, Owen deduces that it's about the elements and tells the others that needs to present each of the elements to unlock it. Back to Zoe, she's now back in the forest, not noticing that the guardian is just a few feet away from her. Before she gets seen, Dr. Rawson pulls her down and hides her from the beast. Zoe immediately hugs Dr. Rawson and goes on to ramble about her talk with Marduk. Before Zoe gets to finish the story, Dr. Rawson reveals that she is the sorcerer and that everything Marduk says is a lie. Now embracing her sorcerer self, Dr. Rawson says she's been doing everything to set things right, which is why she put Zoe and the others here. Upon hearing that, Zoe suspects her, but the sorcerer points her the way to where her friends are. Zoe takes her advice, but not before warning the sorcerer not to follow her. Meanwhile, the others try to unlock the poem based on Owen's understanding. When it doesn't work, it frustrates Owen, while Caitlin assures him that he can figure this out. Suddenly, they hear the guardians roar again, and Zoe comes running to them. Kaylee pulls her to the stone wall, and Zoe deciphers that it's about the elementalists. The stone wall is actually a gate that locks the sorcerer out and only allows elementalists. They follow Zoe's lead by extending their palms to the wall where their inscriptions glow, and they get teleported to the woodlands. Once there, Zoe fills them in on what Marduk said about finding the rest of the staff. She also tells the group that they stink of the sorcerer. That is why the Guardian is after them. Like what Marduk said, she advises them to cover themselves with mud, and a mud fight ensues. The mud fight gets cut off when Zoe sees a fairy sitting not far from them. Noticing that it's injured, she heals it, and it soon flies away. Zoe tells everyone that they need to find the staff and the tree because it's the only way they can save the world and get home. The group walks through the jungle and falls before they end up at the crossroads. There, they meet the Keeper, who tells them that they shouldn't be here and knows where they all came from. The Keeper sends Owen and Javier away because he doesn't like them. Kaylee and Caitlin try to bribe him instead, but they also get sent away. The Keeper then turns to Zoe, who gives him her mother's bracelet so that she can get out of there. The Keeper likes her intention, so she opens the gate to her. When she enters the gate, Zoe finds herself in the middle of the snowy woods and breaks down. Meanwhile, Caitlin and Kaylee are sent off to different woods. They meet a curious creature called the Unweaver, who tells them that he can show them where their friends are. As for Zoe, she cries out of frustration when the sorcerer appears congratulating her and saying Zoe will be on track soon. Zoe asks how she passed through the gates, and the sorcerer tells her that she's at the back of Zoe's mind and not really there. The sorcerer asks for Zoe's help again, while Zoe wonders why she was sent here. Moments later, she sees Javier, and they reunite just as the sorcerer disappears. Meanwhile, the real sorcerer rants just outside the barrier of the tree and tries to break inside. She uses her powers but is still unable to enter, so she just walks away. When night falls, the group huddles together, and Kaylee asks Owen if he remembers all the wall inscriptions. They work on deciphering it, just as the sorcerer appears again, so Zoe moves away to talk to her. Caitlin comes after Zoe and asks who she is talking to, but Zoe says she's just trying to figure things out. She returns to the group just in time for Owen to tell them that the writing is about a tribe that died due to a sickness, but speaks nothing of the sorcerer's weakness. Suddenly, they hear a sound from the woods, forcing them to hide in the nearby tree. They see two goblins that occupy their campsite, forcing them deeper into the woods. There, Zoe breaks down, saying they won't make it out, and the ground she stands on starts sucking her in. The sorcerer appears, telling her to let the darkness in, while her friends try to save her. One by one, the ground swallows them as soon as they give up. This is the darkness Marduk mentioned before, forcing them to face their deepest anxieties in their own form, starting with Caitlin and her self-worth. She manages to cast her darkness away and helps Javier as he struggles with his father's absence. With Caitlin's touch, Javier manages to cast his darkness away. The same goes for Kaylee and Owen, who both struggle with their worth. It's also thanks to Caitlin's touch that brings them back. Shortly after, Caitlin helps Zoe by sitting her, as she helps her come to terms with her mother's death. Later, another portal appears and they leave the darkness. They find themselves in the open wilderness with a better bond and determination to find the rest of the staff. They keep walking until they find a box and open it just as goblins start to appear. The sorcerer tells Zoe to hurry only to discover that it's empty. Zoe loses her cool and starts snapping at everyone, while Caitlin notices that there's a shadow around her. Suddenly, the sorcerer appears in front of them, and the other four are shocked to discover that Dr. Rawson is the sorcerer. Zoe doesn't know if she should believe Marduk or the sorcerer, so she chooses to find the rest of the staff and the tree, and then decides from there. The sorcerer tells them that the last piece of the staff is what she needs for her to cross the barrier, and that she was the one who brought them together. When she reveals to them that she is the last of her people, Kaylee decides to use the broken piece of portal to bring the Guardian there. The sorcerer fights the beast, while the group runs through the portal and into the forest. They hear the Guardians roar soon, making them panic when the fairy from before appears out of nowhere. Her appearance makes Zoe realize that the beast is an Earth child, so she uses her power to tame it. In doing so, she sees something protruding from the beast's stomach and pulls it out to discover that it's the missing stone from the staff. Zoe and the Guardian fall together just as her friends assist. A little later, the sorcerer appears and demands to get the stone staff. When Owen refuses to give it up, the sorcerer zaps him and Caitlin, who tried to help him. A moment later, Zoe wakes up and hands the staff head to the sorcerer so she can stop hurting her friends. She takes it and grabs Zoe by the hair to enter the barrier together, where the Tree of Knowledge is located. Once inside, they see Marduk sitting at the bottom of the tree, and he greets them as they get closer. Zoe discovers that Marduk and the sorcerer are siblings. On the other hand, the sorcerer vows to take what is hers, but Marduk says the only way she can do that is to go through him. Without a hint of hesitation, the sorcerer stabs Marduk with the staff to get rid of him. Zoe tries to heal Marduk, but he reminds her that one tree is all trees. Once he's gone, the sorcerer demands that Zoe connect the staff to the tree. Instead of doing what she wants, Zoe destroys the tree. Before the tree can be fully destroyed, the sorcerer jumps inside the trunk just as it explodes. Meanwhile, Zoe is brought back to her friends and asks them to help her revive the tree by putting their palms on the ground. Using their powers, a small bud sprouts. Just as Zoe says one tree is all trees before fainting. A few days later, they're back at school with Javier, Caitlin, and Owen smiling as they walk past each other. Meanwhile, Kaylee joins Zoe for lunch, where they talk about what happened. They realize that they still have their powers, and Kaylee proposes that they should look more into it and spend more time together, like catching a movie. Thanks for tuning in. A thumbs up would be amazing because I've got some bills to pay.
All this money, money, money coming to me. No handouts, I really had to